Welcome to Becoming Fearless, the personal growth podcast for you if you are ready to overcome fear and step into your greatness. Our purpose is to help you overcome your limits, have loads of fun along the way, unlocking your fullest potential in life, business, health and relationships every single day. I'm your host, Charlotte Carter, a high-performance coach and entrepreneur with over 20 years' experience. I've supported many highly driven, talented people like you who dream big and are ready to take action to overcome what's holding them back. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing hacks and habits on how to build self-belief, courage and confidence to master your mindset and navigate your emotions so that you can reach your human potential in a way that feels light, fun and easeful and helps you become fearless. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Becoming Fearless. I am super honoured, privileged and mega excited to bring this episode to you for a number of reasons. This is a guest episode and it's with a lady that I've never spoken to before until she's come on the podcast today. And we have met in a brilliant programme that we were in called Enigma with Amanda Farah, who has been another one of my guests on Becoming Fearless. So go and check out her episode if you know when we talk about Amanda Farah, that's what it is, Enigma, where we met initially. And Sam came into my awareness as somebody who was definitely on a journey of becoming fearless, like a life-changing journey, a transformational time. And I've brought many guests into the episodes for you all to listen to that all have a different angle. And today it's something that I don't think you'll meet many people like Sam. You won't meet many people that are doing the journey that she's doing, that she's chosen to do. And the realizations and the revelations and the aha moments she's had already. So, first of all, allow Sam to introduce herself and let people know a little bit about who she is and what she's doing.
Okay. So thank you I've literally got flooding with shivers here, just listening to that and being here. So thank you first of all. So I'm Samantha Hemming and I am, so obviously, similar to you, I've been on the sort of energetic spiritual journey, doing all the internal work. But I think I'd got to a point where I realised that we've also got to do the external stuff as well. And, there's it's about living life. So I set myself a big personal challenge actually to do a 365-day live journey of me basically selling up and packing up my life in the UK and then going off in search of a new life, basically. A new life. There was a part of an intention that was to find a new place in the world to settle, a new home, so to speak. But I can already feel that as this journey's evolving, it's like, that's gone, that long-term outcome's kind of gone out the window because I've just gone into that being so present. So it's a 365 figuring out life live to challenge myself to overcome my own fears, my own hurdles, and to just basically blow that prescribed life that we're all led to think is the only way out of the water. And I've got no idea how this is going to show up. And sometimes I have that, oh God, I've got to show up live with this when it's been a crazy day. But that's what I'm doing.
So I told you listeners that this episode is going to blow your mind because who do you know? Just take a moment to just listen and land what Sam's just said. She's taken a year out of her original life or the life that she knew, that she was familiar with no other intention other than that commitment to give 365 days onto this experiential part of her being and part of her journey. And so, first of all, tune in. Do you know anybody else that's done that? I don't, so I'm super excited to chat with Sam. Tune in to yourself. Would you ever do anything like that? Would you ever sign up to do anything like that? What are the fears that come up for you? Is it a hell no? Is it, oh, I'm super curious? Is it maybe when the kids are older? Is it, I'd like to, but I probably won't? What comes up for you? Just ask yourself those questions first of all, because let's go back for Sam. In that time, maybe like last year, like when you were saying sort of like Christmas time, the end of last year, we're recording this in mid-2024. So we're going back about 6 months. Sam's been on her journey 3 months so far. but I understand that you were at this place where you're like, actually, this is when you made the decision. So can you just let people know where you were then? What kind of got you to that first place?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, this is really important, because I think, so I was a person, I've been on a 7-year sort of journey up to get me to this point. I won't go through the whole 7 years, but it was, experiencing burnout, all the mental health, the emotional wellbeing stuff. So then going on this journey of various healing modalities, energetics, blah, 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 doing so much of the internal work, and feeling, quite accomplished in that sense. But what I noticed was I was getting more and more frustrated. It was really bizarre, because it was like, on the one hand, you feel like everything should be getting better. And I think in terms of where I was mentally, it was. But then there's also this other massive part of me that's like, my life still looks the same, that my life is still looking too much the same for how much stuff has occurred in this period, in this time. This is not what my life should be looking like. Almost like this isn't good enough. There was a real like resolve and conviction growing inside of me. And I've always had this thing of never wanting the life that we're all sold of, go to school, go to uni, get a job, do the job forever. I mean, every time I've got a job and someone's gone, oh, great, you can settle down. And I'm just like, oh, that for me is, oh, no, that's not living. And what was happening is, and I think this does happen for us when we're not listening and we're not making the move and taking the action that we're supposed to be taking. What started happening for me was, it was like I was helping and being a part of everybody else around me, getting all these things that they wanted, like their amazing job, their amazing relationship. And it was almost like being in the air, like, because I'm from Stoke-on-Trent. Every time I was kind of like trying to go down a path, it just felt like doors were like slamming in my face. I can't even tell you how strange it was. So it was literally like, right, okay. And I just remember sort of having a, moment of absolute screaming rage one day with my housemate. I was like, I just literally want to run off. Like, I want to just leave this life. And because I've got a dog back home, and she was like, I'll take the dog. She was like, you go do what you need to do. She was like, you've got 12 months, go. And she literally said, you've got 12 months, go figure it out. So that was kind of already in motion. And there was another sort of quite pivotal day where, and I'd said to one of my coaches at the time a number of times, like, I just want to start from scratch. Like, the life that I was living by that point, when it didn't feel like my life, because my life felt like so much more. So there was quite a lot of, at that time, there was quite a lot of dissatisfaction. There was quite a lot of lack of fulfillment. I was supporting somebody else in their vision and their dream, and that was causing a lot of, dis-ease inside of me, because it's like, yeah, but what about, there's always that tapping on the shoulder, isn't there, about, yeah, but what about your dreams? What about your plans? And I think so often we distract ourselves because we're scared to go for our dreams. Like, it makes me really emotional actually as I'm saying this, because it's easier to distract ourselves than to go, do you know what, I really want this and I'm going to go for it, but that feels scary. So
let's just talk. Let's just talk about that, because that's a real big point for the people that listen to Becoming Fearless, because this is a pattern. And I want to touch just on it because it brought emotion for you, because this is a pattern of overgiving, isn't it? It's the pattern of overgiving that a lot of people that I attract into my world have. I have, you have this pattern where, you're here to help the masses because you can see how you can help them, and you can help them get their vision. And it brings you an element of joy for certain, but it's like their vision's slightly higher than yours. And this perspective change has not quite landed where we want to get in terms of high performance, and in terms of where you are now, you've skewed it the other way. We want to get to the place where we settle, don't we? And we get to this place where we are at our vision is encompassing all the other people as well. But our vision is holding our own stuff first, exactly like you say. And that, I reckon, must have been that tipping point for you. So sorry, I just wanted to highlight that for people that listen. They're in that overgiving bit. So if you resonate with that overgiving, you might do Sam's journey and go on this massive, wonderful journey. But just note to yourself, are you putting other people above yourself? Do you have a fear of your greatness? Is there a piece within you that is absolutely terrified of owning your full brilliance.
Yeah.
So let's go on from there, Sam.
Just on that point though, I had a point doing I think some energy work, and it really landed for me that I'd actually made a massive identity as well out of putting everybody else first. It had become, my right to exist was abridged to doing for other people, and me staying small and only doing for other people. And the day when that dropped, I think that was the day when it was like, no more now, because and God, that's what I would say to anybody listening, like, your life comes first, your dream comes first. And I think, I was sort of asked, do you want to come and do this thing with me? And even though it's been a beautiful thing, there's part of me that wishes I would, like, do your thing, put your energy into your thing, and let go of the identities of helping everybody else first. And this is the energy we're both working in now, isn't it? It's me first. And God, when you feel that, and you feel the truth of that and the conviction in that, life changes. My life has changed, like I've just said to you, just like the things that have happened in the past 3 months, they would never have happened if I wouldn't have done this.
Do you think there's an element, Sam, where you can't, you don't allow yourself to see the possibilities, or is it that your mind's not there? Where do you think it is where, for people listening, because you and I are on the same page, but the people just a step before, do you think that they can't see it? They don't allow themselves to think there's a permission piece? Do you think it's just a mixture of a lot of things? What would you say, that piece before things land?
I think you just can't see it. You can't see it because you can't allow we have this. I'm just thinking now the contrast between where I was and where I am now. I did not have this level of possibility of things that could happen in my awareness, because we're only aware of what we're aware of. We can't, do you know what I mean? It's like, so,
yeah.
And it was so confined, and you can only make reference to, if you've seen bits on films, or if you've read bits in books, you can maybe draw on that for reference, but you can't, our minds won't, I think almost like maybe they're not able to, or at that point, not they are, because they really are able to, but it's our just conditioned perspective. We can't go beyond that. We can't see all that whole vast world of possibility until, and it takes me back to a quote that a friend sent me at the time. It's is it a Rumi quote, like, you don't see the way, or step out onto the way and the way appears.
Yeah.
I had no idea of the possibility until I took the first step. And then but I can't tell you how fast it happens though. When you take that first step, boof, like a whole new row of steps appears that were like, oh, right, okay, God, like, okay. But your mind will still fight you to try and keep you back in the run back home zone. And I've really had to push through that, even doing the work that I'd already done, which is probably why I haven't done it till now. But yeah, I think we can't imagine how amazing life could be. We can't, because we're so stuck in our own limits, I think is what I think is why.
And I think there's a massive piece, and this is what I want to touch on next, is about being out of your environment, isn't it? About being out of when you're in what I call the tunnel vision, you're in the blinkers and you can't open your blinkers and see what else even possible for you. Mm-hmm. And I think changing your environment, changing your state, I talk a lot about changing your state, but changing your physical environment like you are, like on such a scale that you are. Mm-hmm. Talk people through that first couple of days when you decided, you booked, and you're on your flight. Where was the first place you flew to?
So the first place I flew to was Spain, because I went with, and I did actually do the first part of my journey just by chance. I'd booked my flight to a permaculture community, which is, absolute beautiful place in Spain, in Maia, it's called. So like rural Spain, just an hour away from Barcelona. So that initial part, in the end, what happened was a couple of friends had said, oh, we're going to come at the same time, which was actually, I think possibly I maybe needed that, and I didn't feel like I was copping out by having that, actually, because it was just that sort of like, okay, off you go to the first step. I mean, there's no doubt in me, I would have done it anyway. I was doing it anyway. But that's another thing that I would say as well. I think sometimes I'm really one for, thinking you've got to do everything to the absolute extreme without any support or without any resource, and you don't have to do that. It's like that for me, was just that little bit of resource that I needed to get me on my way, to build that confidence. Right, okay, we did step one. So my first step was I spent a month on a permaculture community in Spain, doing all sorts of things, building, learning permaculture, driving trailers, like real getting your hands dirty kind of stuff, and having some really super profound conversations with the two people that ran it, and straight away being completely, because that is raw, that, there's no toilets, there's no, you sort of, it's very, very basic. There's no, amenities, so to speak. It's like, you're in the middle of nowhere with very few amenities. So that was like, a real contrast, but just amazing to experience that.
And when you left there and left your friends, I think that's let's just touch on that point a minute, in terms of, I talk about high achievers and high performers and having this thread of duality of extremes. Things either being really good or really hard, or being really successful or really, on the brink of, everything falling apart. Having these, like having an adrenaline rush and a thrill of having the extremes. And I think there's a middle ground. And I've talked about this recently in a few of my programs, about having magic in the mundane. And for some people, this extreme lifestyle in the high performers, the extreme mindset, actually, once they can start getting themselves feeling more present in the safety and some of the stuff around them, and being more present in their bodies, then they start to receive some support that they might have pushed away, and they start to change. And then they may open up different opportunities. There may be different jobs, different people to meet, and different things that come up on along their way. But I think that extreme, and that giving yourself permission to receive support, is really, really key. So what happened next? When were you on your own then? When did the friends sort of go back to their like everyday life, and you carried on your journey?
So they left after 2 weeks. And then I spent another 2 weeks at that place on my own. And again, that was a completely different dynamic, because, they'd gone, the safety net had almost gone then. So that was kind of like that was a little bit when reality kicked in, of like, right, okay, we're doing this now. And I knew then it was another couple of weeks before I was going to go off on this journey. And and that's I think, having not done the somatic work that I've done and all of that, I probably would have done an extreme and gone to somewhere, miles and miles and miles away. But I think that can cause us to fail, because we take too much on. We get too overwhelmed as high achiever, and then we just, I can really relate to everything that you've just said, actually. And so I just started with I was going to travel around South Spain, because I was getting to a coaching event down South Spain anyway. So kind of going from like North Spain to South Spain. So after the month at the permaculture retreat, I did a few bang, 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 a couple of places in quite a short space of time. So like Valencia, then down to Granada, then down to Estepona, but in quite a short space of time. And then did this big, huge event in Estepona. So that was quite intense. That was quite fast paced. And that within itself brought quite a lot of learning, and, that understanding of, I had to sort of reframe for me what traveling meant, because what I realized was, if I'd have tried to continue in that way, I would have very quickly burnt out, because traveling can be tiring as well. And I don't think anyone sort of, talks about that at any great depth. It's always like, oh, it's quite glamorized, but actually it can be tiring as well. And especially if, you get in tricky hostels and, people who want, partying through the night, when you're trying to sleep and stuff. And I think then just getting my head around the whole, I think that's when it started to hit me like, God, I'm actually doing this. And whoa, I've sold all my stuff. I know I've got no intention sort of going back home, to sort of set up a life back in the UK. So it was like, whoa, okay. Yeah. So then I bopped all the way down to South Spain. And then it was actually, I'd got no intention of coming to Morocco. But by that time, I'd started to move into a slightly bit different energy of like allowing and just like letting go of that need to plan and control. And someone just literally said to me like, oh, while you're down here, you should hop across to, you should go to Marrakesh. Have you ever been? I was like, no. So literally just looked at flight prices. There was a flight for €13, and then bang, before I knew it, I'd booked a flight then to Marrakesh. And then I was in Marrakesh, like that wasn't even on my radar. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I did have a very loose plan, but then just to feel, and something that felt such a good decision, just to go, let's do this.
Let's just talk about that, because I think there will be people listening that can resonate with that. Let's call it the tipping point. So, when people go on their average 2-week holiday, or people, whatever it is, and people, first of all, they start to get typical high performers. This is a pattern I've seen. The first few days, they start to get a little bit of a cold and they run down because they've been working the socks off because they wanted to get 1,000,001 things done before they went on holiday. So the first 3 or 4 days, it's acclimatizing. They don't feel great. They're trying to give themselves permission to stop. Their energy's all over the place. They're very jittery. Then we get to this sweet spot where they're like, actually, I'm going to start enjoying it. And I've still got quite a lot of time left to enjoy it. And they start really being present in the moment and enjoying what's around them and the company they're in and the scenery and everything like that. And then then there's a place where, we're near the end again, and they start to pick back up into that space of who they were and the identity and the energy of who they were. But I think what you've nailed there is that you've gone through at a different level that kind of version. So the need energy, or the forcing yourself to relax space that a lot of high performers have on their like annual break or 5 times a year, however they have these breaks. The pattern that I see time and time again, they go back into their old ways. So do you feel like you've totally broken free from that old version of you?
I feel like if I stay on this path now, yes, I think it's very easy to get caught back up in that pattern again, because I think there's a lot of things about particularly the Western world that is designed to keep us functioning in almost a functional free state, and that's my opinion, that's my belief that the world wants us to be there. And I think actually it takes, a lot of people have said to me, oh God, you're so brave, and for me, I think the bravest thing that we can do in life is almost maintain that separateness from, or maintain that conviction that, I'm not going to get myself caught up in that again. I'm going to live a life that feels good, on the inside, rather than this life that's just a whirlwind that I'm just going along with because everybody else is going along with it. And, I'm not saying that's everybody in the Western world, because if you're doing what you love, and that's very, very different, but so many people are just on that treadmill. I always think of it as like, there's always a foot on the treadmill. And even though, people, and I've had that before, where you have that, you just about start coming down, and just as you start coming down, bang, it flips, and you're already thinking about the climb back up again then, and to try and get yourself back to that place that feels normal. It's not normal. It's not normal for us to be there. And honestly, I could feel the point where everything ramped up in my head before then there was just this breaking point, because there was all these thoughts of, right, what next? And I was just like, just stop this. Just stop. And I actually started incorporating a little bit of like body-based practice back in again, because that's something else we forget when we're going through the craziness of day to day. And just kind of then over a period of a few days, because I found myself a place to rent, I just knew as well I needed to slow the journey down a little bit, because I think that's the big thing when we're functional frees or high achievers, everything's generally going very, very fast. It's going so fast that most of the time we can't breathe, we can't think, but it's so normal for us, we don't know what the difference is. So I just knew I needed to find a space to be for a slightly longer period of time so that I could actually regulate myself all the way back down and get some flipping clarity. So I found an apartment, and how everything lined up. That's another thing as well. Like when you're in flow with your life, if life's feeling hard, you're not in flow. Because my life was feeling really hard, but since I've made this decision now, everything's just unfolding. So I found this. People helped me find this apartment, so I'm here for a month. And then I just spent a good 10 days just literally looking after me, just being quiet without that pressure of I'm supposed to be traveling and I'm supposed to be doing this. It was like, no, sod that. Like, how does this need to feel for me for a period of time? And literally over those 10 days, then it was like, oh, this is how it feels to be present, to not be in that functional freeze place, to be able to have clarity. And then the trust in life, the allowing rather than the needing to sort of micromanage and control everything. And it was almost that moment of like, God, I'd done a lot of work. How would I become like that again? You know what I mean? Because we just get sucked back in again to it so easily. So it's my really big thing now is to not allow that to happen again and to stay in much more of this energy and work in this energy, creating this life.
So exciting, isn't it? So exciting for you. It's so wonderful to listen to your journey. I think we'll have to have you on again when you're like 6 or 9 months in, see where you are. Then you'll be a completely different version. So in where you are now, do you have plans? Do you have any loose plans? Or are you at the 100% like, I'm just going to go with all the insight that I'm given around me?
Yeah. So because of how it happened that I came to Morocco and just so many little bizarre things happened, like when I booked my bus, like I've got this number that always comes up for me. It's like 1818, and there was a thing with flamingos before I came and just so many little signs. And the way that occurred was just very, very organically. There was, like I say, there was no plan to come here. So it's funny because I kind of went on to book some flights last week, and it was almost like the universe was kicking me off just because it was like, no, this isn't you being present, because I was trying to like plan too far ahead, and it actually kicked me out of 2 flight sites, 3 times each. So I was like, okay, I'll leave it. And like, as I was telling you before, that actually led to this crazy little week-long whirlwind romance that I've just allowed myself to be in the throes of, which has been incredible. And that's come to a bit of a close today because that person's now going on to the next part of their journey. And I can feel that sense in me now of, right, okay, that's complete. Now start feeling into what you want to do next. So I feel like I say, the loose plan, someone told me when I did a couple of, like, a few days of traveling Croatia, God, many years ago now, about 10 years ago. And I remember meeting a couple of guys then who'd been traveling from America, and they'd just done this trip up from Albania through Montenegro, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and then all the way up to like Hungary, Slovenia, Slovakia. So I feel that's always been something that I've wanted to do, like just this little sort of road trip up there. So I feel like I've just had a quick check for flights, and interestingly now I couldn't get a direct flight last week, but this week I've literally just gone on and checked, and as I'm talking now I'm getting these like truth shivers now. So it's probably going to be Albania next. And then up through the other countries. So the plan for this was to stay away just full-blown 12 months, but the pet care that I'd arranged, there's been a little bit of a change of circumstance there, so it's possible, likely, maybe, that I'm going to have to pop back to the UK at some point. But then again, this is where the plan's got even bigger now, because the plan now is, right, okay, how do I free up more money? Is that looking like, putting the house up for sale? Travel now, there's it goes beyond 12 months now. And at the time of making this decision, it was just a 12-month thing. And I'd got this little view of how it was going to go. Oh my God, what's opened up now is just like, it's very likely now, there's going to be global retreats. I'm going to be constantly traveling. There's just the possibility now has just gone whoosh, from that like tiny little flash I had. It's way bigger than that, and there's way more possibility in it than that. So yeah. So I think the next part is a flight to Albania, work my way up, maybe. But this is the thing about being present. Who knows? Who knows? I might get pulled next week to, I don't know, like Sri Lanka keeps popping up as well. So who knows? Let's see.
How exciting. And it is so inspirational listening to you. And I think I totally hear and resonate with this element that you're talking about in terms of courage to not go back and not get sucked into the old way of being on some level, but not being on another. The whole the human doing when you're on that treadmill of life and everything, you feel like you're in this should energy and expectations, and it's all about everybody else and achievements rather than the space that you're in now, where is very much human being led and human feeling led. And, let's see the whole beautiful energy of anticipation and curiosity, which I just love being in. So I have loved talking to you on multiple levels, on a personal level and for the listeners. The last question that I want to ask you, which is what I ask all my listeners, and I'm interested to see what you say with this, is what is a book that you have read or listened to in the past that you think has formed some part of your realization to take you on to the journey that you're on now?
God, I've just got to pick one. Like, that's so hard.
You can pick 2 or 3.
Do you know, I'm going to do 2 because I'm actually reading another one of the sequels. So a book that really stood out to me because it was just so profound was the Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist. And interestingly, when I got to where I am, on the bookshelf was his trilogy. So I'm actually reading the first one in the trilogy right now, which is called The Pilgrimage. And that book, I mean, I just know that I remember the other one being profound, but as I'm reading this one now, this is all about it's an external journey, but this one's actually got little exercises in that we can do to break through fear. It's like literally, each chapter's got an exercise to grow beyond your fear, to grow beyond your very limited, your limitations. And it's profound. It's really profound.
And so timely, as always. It's on that bookshelf.
I'm literally picking it up every day, and every day I'm reading the page that literally relates to. Just trying to think the snippet that I was reading the other day. It was something about basically. It was exactly what I just moved through and what I've just been talking about. When we can create enough space in our lives, so that we can. It's talking about how quite often we're living in this place of torture because we're never here. We're always planning what's coming over there. And it's like we can't ever just enjoy being here because we're always planning and thinking and and it just steals so much joy. And it was saying, when as humans we can find the courage and the resolve to say, I'm going to create myself a period of time and space whereby I can be still, come back to me and be truly living in the moment and get the clarity that comes from being in the moment and find the trust in life that comes from being in the moment. That's like, some people will sadly never experience that in this lifetime. And that would be my advice to anybody, is find a way of creating yourself that space. Even if it's just once,
Yeah. And this is the whole thing, isn't it? It's about finding the space in the way that feels good for you. So your space is like this whole wonderful journey that's going to be the rest of your life, that started with an idea, and some other people's space that will be equally as profound for them. Maybe 5 minutes sitting outside every single day. It's just finding that version for you, isn't it? That sits with you, where you are expansive in your own being.
Absolutely.
And nothing else. So thank you so much, Sam. I've really enjoyed it, and huge love to you and appreciation for coming on. And I would love to have you on again, just while you're still in this 12-month, well, it's not 12-month anymore, you've admitted that, but this journey to see where you are in 6 months. I'd love to see, if you're up for it, coming back on and seeing what happens, where your life is.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be, yeah, it's just like, yeah, because I've got no idea. So thank you so much for having me on. It's been absolute honour, and just having me on to speak about it, and I hope this is given some inspiration for people to do their own thing.
So if people have been inspired and they want to find out a bit more, Sam, how can people follow this journey? I know you've given us some details we put on the show notes, but how can people follow, like the live journey with you?
Yeah, so most of it's on between Facebook and TikTok. So it's just following me on Facebook, so Samantha Hemming, and then the TikTok, I think, just off the top of my head, 365 Figuring Out Life Live. But I think that's what I sent you for the show notes. So yeah.
Yeah, they'll all be underneath. So go and have a look. Go and continue your inspiration, listeners. And yeah, let's just listen together and watch together about where Sam ends up, what other magic she'll be able to bring to the next episode that she comes on. So thanks so much, Sam. I've really appreciated it. Take care and look after yourself and your journey.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I hope that you're feeling energised, fearless and inspired to take action today to stand in your greatness. I share even more tools and resources on my I Dare to Leap email newsletter. By signing up, you not only get early access to the I Dare to Leap products and services, but you also get brand new podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Monday, meaning you'll never miss your weekly dose of becoming fearless energy. Sign up now at www.idaretoleap.com/newsletter or click the link in the show notes below.